Hello and welcome all. Today, in this video, I am going to discuss on an important module of Nta UGC Net exam paper 1, which is communication. And this module on communication will be dealt in two videos, and this video is on the meaning and types of communication, while the next video is on the barriers and characteristics of communication. So without much delay, let's move on to the video on communication. So, what do you know about communication? Communication is the most integral part of human nature. And do you think communication happens only among human beings? Of course, communication happens even between animals, and it is animal communication. And about communication, the word communication has derived from the Latin word communicare, which means to share. So now you have got a basic understanding like what is communication. So it is sharing. Sharing what? Sharing information, sharing your ideas with another person. And how do you share this information or how do you share these ideas? It is through a SMCR model. And what is SMCR model? It is Center Message Channel Receiver Model. So in SMCR model, the center, he or she encodes the message and sends to the receiver through a channel, and the receiver receives the message, decodes the message and gives a feedback or reply as response. So this is basically the structure of communication, and it is given as SMCR model. So I hope that now you got a basic understanding of what is communication. So now let's look on to find the different types of communication. And the first type of communication is the interpersonal communication and the intrapersonal communication. So what is interpersonal and intrapersonal? I am going to explain it. So inter means between. So interpersonal communication happens between people. And this is the normal and basic communication that we find every day when we talk to our friends or when we talk to our parents, our family, etc. This is the normal and basic communication. So now let's look on to find what is intrapersonal communication. Intra means within. And this kind of communication, that is the intrapersonal communication, happens when we talk to ourselves. You'll be wondering like whether we talk to ourselves. Of course, there are times and moments when we ask questions to ourselves, when we talk to ourselves. And I'll give you a simple, relatable example so that you can understand it well. For example, when we appear for the university examinations or any other kind of descriptive examinations, you will be given some choices for questions. You have to choose one question out of the two given. And during those times, you will be asking yourself questions like which question I am more comfortable with, which question I can answer well. And there are times when you ask yourself such questions. And this is known as intrapersonal communication. The second type of communication is the formal communication and the informal communication. So what is formal and informal communication? Formal communication happens when the government or NGOs or other governmental departments, firms, etc. they inform the people on different policies, measures, actions they are going to take. So such kind of communication is termed as formal communication. The best example of formal communication is the communication by our ministers, be it the Prime Minister or other ministers of different states. They inform people on the new steps taken by the government or the new action or the new policies undertook by the government. And such kind of communication comes under formal communication. And the next one is the informal communication. Informal communication is the usual communication, the casual one, which happens between ourselves and to our friends, our peers, or our family, etc. Such kind of communication is the informal communication. Third type of communication is the direct communication and mediated communication. So what is direct communication? Of course, the title itself suggests that it is a direct kind of communication. So it happens when the people, they talk face-to-face, such kind of communication as direct communication. While the other one, mediated communication, it does not involve face-to-face communication. Instead of it, the communication is through a certain medium or certain channel. For example, it includes newspaper, radio, television, social media, etc. Best example to understand on direct communication and mediated communication is the difference between physical classroom and virtual classroom. In a physical classroom, the teacher stands physically in front of the students and they communicate direct face to face. While in a virtual classroom, for example, consider this channel itself. I am giving you information, I am giving you ideas, I am giving you knowledge through a medium or a channel. For here it is YouTube. So it is a mediated communication. And the last category is verbal communication and non-verbal communication. Communication can also be categorized on the basis of how the message is transmitted. For example, if the message is transmitted orally or through speech, it is termed as verbal communication, that is by using words. Verbal communication. And if the communication is through a process of signs, symbols, gestures, it is termed as non-verbal communication. At times when we are happy and we smile and it gives a message that the person is so happy. So it is a difference between verbal communication and non-verbal communication. Let's look on to see some of the questions that were asked from this part for the UGC Net exam. And the first question is from December 2018. And the question goes like this. Communication variables involved in a model of performance are, and you are given certain variables, encoding, decoding, passive resistance, channelization and indifference. And later part of the question gives certain options and you have to choose the correct option. Of course, we have already discussed that a model of communication include SMCR model, which is the sender who encodes the message, then the channel, and then the receiver who decodes the message. So from this we can understand that there is a process of encoding, decoding and channel. So let's look on to find the variables given. The first variable is encoding, second variable is decoding, and the fourth variable is channelization. And let's look on to the options which gives all these three options. And the option A contains three variables, encoding, decoding and channelization. So it is the right answer. This is how you have to analyze the question and answers for UGC Net exam. You have to eliminate those answers which are not suitable for it and select the correct option. The next question we are going to discuss is from December 2017 and the question goes like this. A good communicator begins his or her presentation with a or an, and we are given four options. The first one is complex question, non sequitur, third one is repetitive phrase, and the fourth one is icebreaker. Let's analyze each of these options and find out the right one. The first one is a complex question. Of course, the audience does not find it interesting when a presenter starts with a complex question. So it is a wrong option. Second one is a non sequitur. Non sequitur is a literary term which means that it is a kind of conclusion that is not related to the content. So we can understand that a presenter will not start with a conclusion. So we can eliminate this option as well. The third one is repetitive phrase. Repetitive phrase is so annoying and so irritating for the audience, so they don't get interested with repetitive phrase. And the fourth option is of course icebreaker, and we will be so interested when the presenter starts a conversation with the icebreaker. So the right answer is icebreaker. With this, we come to the end of our video on the first part of communication. Hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching.